morning, it's Judges Jules, it's Monday morning, and it's me and Simon ready to give you 5 more jewels for your tracker. Hello, Si, how you doing, mate? It was a tough weekend, wasn't it?
Yeah, ground. Ascot kind of dried out in front of our eyes. Newmarket got worse. The clerk of the course said it was good ground even on Saturday afternoon while it was raining as he was being interviewed. It must be one of the most insane TV interviews of all time. Loads of horses pulled out on Saturday morning, sighting the ground, and the times at York were actually good. So there's been a lot of connections wondering what the hell they have done on Saturday morning in pulling the horses out. So it was an insane day.
It was, and I should know better at my age. When you keep having these days when the going changes, you are really guessing, aren't you? Really, and it really one of those days. Really, winners were tough to find. I don't care who you were. So
yeah. But I think we've got some to make amends.
We've definitely got some eye catchers, mate, and some slightly left field, and in my case, some old boys as well.
And I believe there was a Judges Duel that copped the weekend.
I'm just trying to think which one it was now. Yeah, there was one. Yeah, you got me now. I wasn't playing. There were a couple actually. I can't think off the top of my head, but there were a couple of winners.
Yeah, there were 2. Yeah, you're right. So regular viewers.
Yes, regular viewers did actually find a couple
of winners amongst the deluge.
Yes, that's right. Brilliant, mate. Right, so I best get cracking on with this week's, I think.
Yep.
Well, I'm going to start at the Bunbury Cup at Newmarket. I think it's the 4 o'clock on Saturday. Another draw bias race side. There's a few races where you needed to be one side of the track or the other going on Saturday. And this was a race dominated by horses drawn high. I mean, Ropey Guest ran very well drawn low, but he often lulls you in, doesn't he, to thinking that he's one to follow. Ran well. But the 2 horses I wanted to concentrate here was Blessing and Accidental Agent. Blessing was ridden too close to the pace and actually ran a cracker and finishing 4th. But my eye catcher and my jewel in the race is also called Accidental Agent. Eve Johnson Horton, 9-year-old now. This horse came 5th here. Got hampered near the finish. Would have definitely been a length or 2 closer. Ran off a mark of 101. He's due to go down 3 pounds in future races. And I think he might even go down £1 or 2 after this run. There's a big race in a couple of weeks' time at the King George meet in the Moe and Shandong. It's got a love affair with Ascot. And I can see him being a 25, 33 to 1 poke for that and running really well. This was an excellent run and good to see him back on track. So my first jewel is Accidental Agent.
Yeah, there was a big... it's a big outcry, but a big sort of move to say that horse should be retired last year after some woeful run, given that he's like a Group 1 winner, isn't he, in the distant past? And this was a real return to something like, wasn't it?
Definitely.
So you're right, with that Ascot form, and he was hampered. I can see where you're going with that. I think he could have one big handicap win in him and hopefully retire him on the spot.
Yes. He's getting that. He's danced a few dances, hasn't he? But I mean, I can really see him. Big field. He preferably doesn't get any rain. He sort of likes top of the ground. Every time he keeps running this year, he seems to be running on ground that's too soft for him.
Yeah, but no. And if they're going to go, they're going to have to go quick, aren't they?
Yeah. And you think that 7 furlong race would be right up his street and all, wouldn't you?
Oh, definitely. Yeah. So my first one, my 2 are at Ascot. And the first one was in the 255, the Juddmonte Restricted Novice Stakes, which I think was a decent race. And the race was won by a horse called Al Muzmak, who was as short as 9 to 4 on Friday night and was the subject of some serious Newmarket Gallop reports. Trained by Roger Varian, played up on the way there, apparently, played up in the paddock, played up on the way at the post, veered up a few times before going in, drifted out to 9 to 1 on track, bigger on the exchanges, and then went and won. But he's not the eye tracker. You can work him out yourself. If they teach that horse to behave himself, Al Muzmak's got a real future. But the horse I like was the well-backed favourite. Sorry, the horse I think will be underrated and we'll get a price for next time was called Under the Sun. Now, it's trained by Hugo Palmer. It got beaten by Godolphin horse on debut. And, Judge, they really fancied this on Saturday, and they went for it. It went off at 13-8. Now, the winner, afterwards, the jockey said he absolutely loved the cut in the ground. I'm not so sure that Under the Sun did. And I think that a combination of going a little bit too fast too early and it being a stiff Ascot track and the Varian horse obviously being classy and mowing him down. It was 3.5 lengths back to the third, a horse called Galactic Charm, which I thought ran a decent race. There was some decent 2-year-olds in this. Under the Sea's given them a beating and has just ran into one again. But I think this has been very unlucky. I suspect they may well come back to 6, or they may go for an easier 7. But I do think Under the Sun, Hugo Palmer will definitely want that win next time. I think he'll be cleverly placed, and I don't think you should give up on him just yet. I think he's been a bit unlucky the way it all transpired, and he obviously ran into a very, very talented colt on Saturday. So Under the Sun for Hugo Palmer. People did their money on Saturday, but I think they've got an excellent chance of getting it back. And of course, if you didn't back him on Saturday and you didn't see the race, there was so much racing, you didn't attend the wedding, so you don't have to, you can have the wedding next time. So confident selection for next time. They'll want their money back. I think he's a decent horse. Under the Sun.
Yeah, definitely, mate. I think that's a right eye catcher in that race. And like you say, 3.5 lengths back to the third. Plus the fact it's a novice stakes race. You don't see too many really poor ones at Ascot in particular.
No.
And you've got to think he's a formality to win at least the maiden and then probably progress on to better things. He could be a nice nursery type or better going forward, couldn't he?
Could be better than that, but
I think he could. But he might get a nice mark, couldn't he? And win a decent, run in valuable nurseries later on, and then perhaps going to listed or group company. Yeah, definitely. Right. So speaking of pulling and running, you were talking about the winner of that last race. My next eye catcher ran at Newmarket as well on Saturday, and it was in the 3-year-old handicap, the mile 3-year-old handicap. I think what time it was, the 250. 3-year-old handicap, won by Highbank. And it did seem to be an advantage to be drawn up the rail, the way Highbank came up. And my eye catcher did run up the rail. But this horse pulled and hung across the track, the one I like, a horse called Lose Your Wad. And if you did back it on Saturday, them in-running punters did lose their wad. This horse went 2s on him running and didn't hit the frame. He went way too fast on it. I don't think he had a lot of choice, the jockey, Kieran Schumacher. The horse wanted to hang from about halfway and did eventually win the battle in that class. And just basically hung his chance away. He ran quite a similar race at Ascot the time before, over 10 furlongs, in that good race Burdett Road one there. He hung and he pulled far too hard in that race. I got a feeling there might be a gelding operation coming for this, but it's definitely a handicap to be won with this horse because he's got such a lot of talent. The way he's pulled far too hard, he went about 4 or 5 lengths clear, about 2 out, and then just emptied and hung quite near the finish. I think there's a nice handicap in this, and he might end up being a long-term project. I suggest you keep him in your tracker for sort of certainly 3 or 4 runs going forwards, and I think you'll get paid accordingly. But he's a horse to follow. Lose Your Wad, and let's hope we don't.
To go that quick on that ground was suicide, wasn't it, really? And I think Schumacher was carried by the horse rather than he deliberately wanted to do that. Got to learn how to behave, ain't it? But bags of talent. Better ground, maybe. Not an uphill finish. There are some courses you can be aggressive on and you'll get, but Saturday was not ever going to be one like that. I mean, if you watch a race back like the July Cup, these are classy sprinters. Some of them were knackered at halfway on that ground.
They were, mate. Speaking of July Cup, the winner, what a run that was.
The good ground that the Clark claimed. That's a freak, the winner of that. But Lose Your Wad, definitely. Maybe a visit to the vets, you're right. But
I feel it, he's just that sort of type, isn't it? The way he's been running, he's doing things all wrong. Speaking of doing all things wrong, Shaquille's been doing that, but he's got a lot more talent. But you can't win races you know, when you're pulling and hanging and doing things all wrong, you need to do things economically when you're racing.
Yeah. But there's definitely there's wins there in the future. Well, I stuck at Ascot for my second and final eye catcher of the week. It ran in the 4:05, the Magnum Classic Ice Cream Handicap. Marvelous. I wonder what the
Other ice
prize
creams
was.
are available.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Very strange race, really. Mile and a half Class 2 handicap, run on good to soft, was won by a 16-1 shot, one for the gutter. Ian Williams, always competitive in these middle distance handicaps. But the horse I like was the beaten favourite, La Yakel, who I think was very, very unlucky. He probably went a bit too quick early, fast pace on the ground, and that maybe was one of the reasons why he sort of conspired to get himself beat. But he went clear in the final furlong. He went for it, but then one for the gutter came past him and or came alongside, and then really sort of carried him across. It was one of those races where you could have quite easily seen La Yakel get it, but he didn't. He lost it, and he got beaten a neck. Very unlucky loser. I think that this was a good race. You had some really solid horses behind in third and fourth, like Struth, Lucanda, who was slowly away, was powering off. I think he's a horse to look out for as well. But I think La Yakel, beaten again at a short price, might be underrated next time. They'll either come back here. I agree with you. Sorry for what you said about one of the other ones, that the ideal race would be one at the King George meeting. And I think they'll also consider taking this to the Ebor meeting. We know how much William Haggett targets that. And I think they've got a good middle distance improving handicapper here. He's 4, but he hasn't been over raced. We know that Haggett just keeps improving these horses at 4 and even into the 5-year-old career. I think there's some decent handicaps in La Yakel. I think he was a very unfortunate loser on Saturday, and I think he needs to be in capital letters in your trackers.
Yeah, for me, he's definitely a horse for the. I like your thoughts in terms of the Ebor meet. He's definitely in front of his mark, without a doubt. Yeah. Struth is a nice improving 3-year-old who took him along at probably a bit too fast a pace in the hindsight, and I think that'll be winning races later in the season. But I think you're looking at La Yakel. This will be rated in the hundreds come the end of the season.
Yeah, definitely.
And you know, if you consider he was favourite to win that race, that was the 3-year-old handicap that was just run at the July meeting last year, the old Brody Cup. He finished behind Al Nafir, Wild Crusade, and Horton Dream. I think Horton Dream come third in the John Smith's Cup on Saturday. And he was, favourite to win that, and pretty much things went against him. That's his first run of the season as well. I wouldn't be sort of surprised, like you say, this horse isn't going to win a handicap or two and then go on to group company. I really like this horse. So move on to the last one then, mate. And just to prove I was awake, on Saturday evening there was a race meeting at Hamilton, and one horse that really caught my eye there was, would you believe, an 11-year-old. So don't often have many 11-year-olds in my tracker for the flat. But a horse here called Sir Chauvelin, a Jim Goldie end mate. This ran far better than its finishing position of 5th suggested. He got carved up more than Sunday Roast in the last 2 furlongs and ended up finishing 5th. He wasn't beaten far, beaten 5 lengths in the end by an improving 3-year-old called Ibrahimovic even. He finished second in a valuable Irish handicap the time before, Ibrahimovic. So he was a just winner. But watch the run back of Sir Chauvelin. He was coming through with possibly a winning challenge. He's got beaten 5th, and it doesn't tell the full story. This horse was running there off a mark of 87. I think the handicap, because of his age and everything, is going to drop him at least another couple. This was a 0 to 85, and I think he'll be in a 0 to 85 next time out. But if you look at his all-weather form, he loves Newcastle. But I think there's a staying handicap in this horse in recent weeks coming. And he's one to keep an eye on your tracker, because he did win last year off a mark of 88. And also finished second in a valuable race also at Hamilton in August last year off a mark of 90. Whether he end up coming back for that next time, that could be his main target. Keep an eye out for him, Sir Chauvelin.
The jockey was asked for a word or two about his ride and said that the gelding was denied a clear run several times in the final 2 furlongs. Well,
Yes.
what about that?
Yeah, please watch it back.
Yeah. So you're right. He's got obviously a target in mind, and another one like Accidental Agent, maybe one last hurrah.
Yeah, the race I was looking at is a Silver Bell handicap at Hamilton, and that you can offer. There's quite obviously lots of improving 4-year-olds normally that go for that. But this also was beating a neck in it last year off a mark of 90. You've got to think this could be the target, haven't you?
Well, hopefully, out of the doom and gloom of Saturday, we've got 5 horses there that people can profit from.
Well, this is the thing. Sometimes there's these troughs and peaks and troughs. You don't want them, but you've got to take it on the chin sometimes. That you have these bad days, but you can turn negatives into a positive by finding winners going forwards, can't you?
Yeah, exactly. Right, have a good week, Judge.
Brilliant, mate. It's a bit quieter this week, isn't it? You finish off at Newbury come the end of the week, but then we'll be busy again the following week.
Very much so. And you'll be back on my channel on Friday night, mate.
I will do, mate. Be lucky and have a great week all.
Cheers, everybody.